This is an art, not a science. And in the long term, does it really matter if the current coil lasts 11 weeks, 20 weeks, 30 weeks? It's all going to end eventually, and the entire precious metals market is going to explode. But when this breaks, look at what happened to silver back in 2005 when this crawl along the 50-week moving average in gold finally broke. See, the coil was similar, very, very similar in the silver market. And once it broke, silver moved from about $7.50 to $15, just over $15 in the same amount of time. Silver doubled in the space of about 9 months. That would bring current silver prices to near $50. And I believe that once we break the $50 range, we will be in a completely new market where silver is taken as a monetary asset. Well, hello there, my friends. Rafi here from the Endgame Investor with this week's silver report for Arcadia Economics. And you'll notice that I am wearing my trucker hat for no apparent reason at all. Not making any kind of statement here. And for this week's silver report, we have a very unique 11-week pattern that last surfaced in the precious metals markets in 2005. When this pattern last emerged, gold went up 70% in 10 months and silver doubled. 2, we have silver backwardation again with spot prices over futures prices for 4 days straight now after only a 2-day brief break. This indicates shortage in the physical market, which is being reflected in premiums, which have jumped 2.5% on junk coins over the last 2 weeks. We also have a very tight pattern in silver stocks priced in silver that has been going on since early 2020 and maybe about to break. And finally, we have Mexico, the #1 silver producer in the world, experiencing double-digit food inflation, the 3rd highest food inflation numbers in the G20 in the world, behind Venezuela and Turkey. Let's get to the charts. We talked about a unique pattern that is emerging, and this one is in gold. You'll see in the black rectangle on the right side of this chart, you'll see what is called a crawl along the 50-week moving average. That is the blue line here. And you'll see the price has been bobbing very close to the 50-week moving average for 11 weeks now. Here, these are week bars. This is a weekly chart. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 weeks. This pattern in gold last emerged over here. I'm sure you've all seen this chart before. If you go along this chart and you look for the last crawl along the 50-week moving average, you'll find that it was here in 2005/2006. We will zoom into this for a second, but this was also a very frustrating period for gold and silver bugs. Gold and silver had just started taking off from 2001 lows and stalled here for what looks like a year. Right when this crawl started to break is when gold moved from, here's the zoom in, $433 to $728 in about 9 months. That's about 70% in 9 months. The equivalent from this current 50-week moving average, which is $1794, would be about $3,000 gold. Now here we see the crawl was longer, depending on exactly how you want to count it. If you want to count it from here, or you want to count it all the way to here, this was the longest that you could count. This would be 31 weeks. Now, do you want to count it from here, or do you want to count it all the way back here? This is an art, not a science. And in the long term, does it really matter if the current coil lasts 11 weeks, 20 weeks, 30 weeks? It's all going to end eventually, and the entire precious metals market is going to explode. But when this breaks, look at what happened to silver back in 2005 when this crawl along the 50-week moving average in gold finally broke. See, the coil was similar, very, very similar in the silver market. And once it broke, silver moved from about $7.50 to $15, just over $15 in the same amount of time. Silver doubled in the space of about 9 months. That would bring current silver prices to near $50. And I believe that once we break the $50 range, we will be in a completely new market where silver is taken as a monetary asset and not just an industrial asset. It is taken as a monetary asset for the silverbacks, but it has not yet spilled into the public. But once silver breaks 30 and then 50, it will. And we will be in an entirely new gold to silver ratio. And this isn't just technical sophistry or magic of patterns. There is a human action explanation for why the price of an asset would move along a 50-week moving average or an obvious technical line like this for so long. It means that both the bulls and bears have high conviction that their targets should be defended because the trend will continue in their desired direction. When both sides are willing to spend money on such small moves like this to keep price at an average crawling along it for so long, that means they're both spending a lot of money defending those targets. And when one of them runs out, there is no more money defending the other side, and so price rockets in the opposite direction. So when this pattern breaks, gold and silver are going to move fast. Since I come from an Austrian school perspective on economics, I always look for the human action explanation for any patterns, since economics is the study of human action. Now, I spoke about backwardation. This happened last week, 2 weeks ago, for 5 days, and there was a 2-day break when spot prices fell below futures. But we see here the last 4 trading days. You see here Friday, January 28th, then Monday, January 31st, Tuesday, February 1st, and Wednesday, yesterday, February 2nd. And all of these days, the settle price for spot silver, February, for immediate delivery, settled above futures prices 4 days straight. This is very long for silver, and we'll see if it continues into the days ahead. Backwardation like this in silver, though it is very slight, indicates a high physical demand, which is why physical silver for immediate delivery is priced higher than futures for March. And we see that already reflected in the price of junk silver premiums. Next chart. You see here, I've shown this before, this arrow over here, right here at the beginning of this chart is February 2021. This is silver squeeze, and you see here the near vertical line in premiums up from what looks like 4.5% to 7.5% overnight on that day. We kept climbing higher and higher in the junk silver premiums. There is no numismatic value to this, so this is a pure silver premium. We hit a high of 18% in December, and then we began to fall as physical demand started to ebb slightly, bottoming at 14.5%. And over the past 2 weeks, we have ascended much higher again to near 17%, and the record for this year is 18%. See if we break that as we keep going with the 1-year anniversary of silver squeeze. Last chart for you today. This is one that I have not shown yet. This is the ratio of silver to the silver miner ETF, SIL. So this is basically silver miners priced in silver. The higher this goes, the cheaper silver miners are. So you see here, here's the March spike when gold and silver miners completely collapsed. As gold and silver both sold off, silver to about 10.50 and gold to about 14.50. And then we had the big spike into the July-August high for gold of $2,086, I believe. And silver hit a high around the same time, around 30. But since then, the silver stocks priced in silver has been remarkably stable, with the 50-week and the 200-week moving average basically not moving at all. And we had a slight rise here as there was a little bit of a sell-off. When this breaks, markets do not stay stable like this for too long. It is going to break hard in one direction, maybe both directions, as we see possibly a flash crash, as we see a liquidity scare, which seems to be already developing as bubble stocks are popping. But eventually this ratio is going to go way down as silver stocks gain value in silver terms. Now, one final slide here, and this might surprise some of you, surprised me. Looked at the statistics of food inflation. Why food inflation? Because food is the most basic necessity. When consumer prices really start to rise, you start seeing people dumping money for basic necessities, and the most important of that is food. So in these two countries, We already know they are hyperinflationary. We have Argentina and Turkey. They are the worst G20 countries in terms of food price inflation. But what is number 3? That is Mexico at 11.63%, meaning it looks like Mexico is on the brink of a currency collapse for the peso. And once that happens, people are going to hoard silver in that country. And we've already seen, for example, countries like Russia banning the export of ammonium nitrate, I think just yesterday, as fertilizer prices are pushing through the roof. So it is conceivable that Mexico could curb silver exports as the demand for silver domestically in that country rises, and the supply of silver from the #1 exporting country falls, and the price of silver rises outside of it. This is just basic economics. So watch food prices in Mexico. I'm sure Chris will have a direct eye on that as he buys food in Mexico, because he is a human being that eats food and lives in Mexico. So hopefully he will be providing updates on that in peso terms to see what is happening to the Mexican currency. And further, as this trucking rebellion gains steam throughout the world, we're going to see bare shelves in supermarkets as these trucks are not moving food across borders and along the roads. So that means supermarkets do not get their food, which means food prices keep rising all across the globe, especially where these protests are concentrated, and food prices go higher and higher. And that is when a monetary panic can be triggered. We're seeing a convergence of protests and politics and monetary economics into some singularity point. Exactly when and where it explodes, never have the exact answer, but we can see all the forces coming together right now. And my hat's off to the truckers of the world. This is Rafi with the Endgame Investor coming at you with this week's silver report for Arcadia Economics. Everybody have a good and shiny week.
Well, thank you, Rafi, for another legendary weekly The Endgame Investor Silver Report on the Arcadia Silver Network. What else can you say? I guess that's why people actually care what Rafi Farber and what you think, rather than Justin Trudeau, Joe Biden, George Bush, Emmanuel Macron, whoever's running Mexico, or the alleged leader of Israel. Anyway, with all that said, I'd also like a quick thank you to Reina Silver. So they mine silver. That's what they do. And I've been meaning, I apologize to my beautiful Arcadians. I've been meaning to let you know that back on January 10th, Reina Silver refines Medicine Springs high-grade jasperoid, blah, blah, blah. Oh, no, wait. What's this? 1,000 GT AGs. Let's dig in here. This is why you stick around to the end of the episodes, especially Rafi's Silver Report. Because look at, now this is Jorge Ramiro Monroy, who's seen answer questions repeatedly. He takes questions. He's in Hong Kong. He's in Mexico. A little different than the Rostin Benham level of transparency exuded from the CFTC. But let's get to the jokes, Silver Boy. Pleased to report results faster than the CFTC. But let's get, I think you're going to want to hear this. The results right here. Read along out loud at home. This is Dr. Peter McGaugh, Reina's chief exploration advisor. The guy who found mag silver, and then like, it's like, what do you do when you already found mag silver? He's like, all right, I'll help one of the kids. It's amigo Ramiro Jorge. And he said, the results of this selective sampling program, now read along with me. You're going to take the time to really let this one sink in at an osmosis level. Because Dr. Peter McGaugh, you've seen on this show, said the results of this selective sampling program are some of the best I've ever seen from CRD jasperoids. Now you might be thinking, what's a jasperoid? Well, fortunately, Jorge or Peter can actually answer that. They actually do answer that. We can ask them next time they're on the show, which I guess we should make a little bit immediate, because these Jasperoids appear to support Jorge and Peter's thesis that what they see at Medicine Springs is a high-level leakage from a multi-stage mineralization center at depth. Peter McGaugh, yes, more of that. The sampling program appears to have narrowed us down to an area with consistently high metals values. Well, that sounds good. Where we hope to permit and drill. Is this? Oh my goodness! I'll get some truckers to clear a path. Of course, because the reason that would be useful is that seeing high-grade silver numbers up to 1,000 grams per ton silver in 2 samples, not just one. That's exciting. Now, this is Jorge talking now. But Medicine Springs keeps exceeding even our own expectations. They immediately expanded their claim package to cover what they believed was an entire district. They executed it. Jasperoids are falling. Jorge said so. No wonder the guy hasn't called me back later. I'm like, Jorge, I thought you were coming on the show. On my Mexican phone, WhatsApp. US phone, WhatsApp. Well, no wonder the guy's busy. Look at this. Results. This is more thorough than Rosty's silver report, I'll say. Dr. Peter McGaugh. All right. Peter McGaugh or Joe Biden to walk your dog. We'll leave aside. Anyway, that's the news. Thank you, Rafi. Rafi, I would say, can you tell us next week what maybe Rafi, you could analyze this press release, since you're a lot smarter than I am, and can actually, Rafi might know what a Jasperoid is, or I'm finally learning hectares. Cool Canadian word. Where I'm guessing if trucks are parked around Ottawa, I don't know if they have a COMEX or if any of that silver was going to go down to the COMEX, but some things to think about as you hit the subscribe button. Yeah, hit that subscribe button right down there. Hit the subscribe button and then the notification bell. I'll see you again tomorrow.